Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea Radio, where we interview awesome singer-songwriters and those who influence their lives. Spill the Tea Radio explores the journey, creativity, and inspiration behind the songs. My next guest is an artist, songwriter, and musician, pushing boundaries with his groundbreaking orchestral pop rock sound. A classically trained violinist, he seamlessly weaves the rich tapestry of symphonic elements into his compositions, creating an exhilarating and epic musical experience. His performances are not just concerts, they are immersive journeys into a world where classical finesse meets the raw energy of rock. So, let's spill the tea with Daniel Monte. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for doing this. And our paths crossed recently at the West End Jazz event, which was absolutely phenomenal. You and Kat Bernardi put on an
Thank you.
amazing show featuring the music of Edith Piaf. And for those of you who don't
Yep.
know who Edith Piaf is, she was a monster. I will call she was the Celine Dion of France in her day. She just commanded French audiences, back in the I'm going to say 20s and 30s, 30s and 40s, somewhere in that era. And so you did that concert, you did it or that event. It was in French, which is not your
Yeah.
native language.
Not even my second or third language. I don't I
Now
do
you're
not speak French.
you're
But
fluent in English, you're fluent in Italian. What was it like to do all those songs in French?
so that was the funny thing because I remember Oliver who organized everything for the West End Jazz. He asked me, he goes, "Hey, can you sing in French?" And I honestly told him, I'm like, "Listen, I don't speak French. So maybe I can learn one song, like maybe I could figure something out to figure out a song." And he goes, "Okay, no problem." A few months go by, and then I see myself. Basically, he's like co-starring with Gab Bernardi, singing in French I'm like, "Whoa, all right, let's go. Let's get this done." And I'm like, you know what? I could figure it out. So what I did is I basically looked through the songs, and I figured, okay, I'll do verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It'll be pretty standard. French music is not verse, chorus, verse, chorus. A lot of the time, it just through like this is like a big, like a huge poetry, like a poem.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was a challenge, most definitely. But because I speak Italian, I think it helped out a little bit. Although I was actually laughing with you the other day about the fact that it's like you know, what's spelled as Champs-Élysées is
Champs.
not Champs. Yeah, Champs-Élysées, right?
Champs-Élysées.
So it's stuff like that where it's like Champs-Élysées, and it's like where did the ons come from, right? But that was the trick. That was the tricky part. So I was phonetically writing things out to make sure that I don't stumble on them, to make sure that I pronounce them at least semi-accurately.
Well,
But it was fun.
you speak one of the three romance languages of the world, which is Italian, French, and Spanish. Those are the romantic
Yeah.
languages of the world. So to your credit, my wife Joanne, whose first language is French, said you did a very, very good job on the French songs
Okay. Good.
and
I
and
appreciate her lies. I appreciate.
and she was very complimentary on Kat's use of the French language, especially performing songs from Edith Piaf as well.
No, yeah, Kat's great. Kat, that was the first time working with Kat, and it was a
Yeah.
big honor. I hope there's more. I hope there's more to come.
Yeah, Kat's an amazing artist, singer, songwriter. She's been on the show a few times now, and we really love having her back. Well, going back to their choice of buying a baby grand piano versus a dining room table, um, you can use a baby grand as a dining room table. Not that you would, but you can't use a dining room table as a baby grand. So I think their thinking and their process was right on and certainly helped you along the way.
Sorry, I was just gonna say they've always been those like that philosophy of keep as much in your house that's accessible as possible. Even my dad with f philosophy, right? And this will tie into the song that we'll be talking about later on. Is he was a big, you know, again he wasn't a big philosophy nerd, so to speak, but he had a lot of philosophy around the house.
Hmm.
We had meditations, Marcus Aurelius, right? We had, Plato, we had the Republic. And so it's like we have different things like that that you kind of, as a kid, dabble in, and it
Yes.
affects you later on, right?
Now you mentioned that your father was influential in getting you into some of the Italian gigs that you first started off with.
Hmm.
You have a story about a gig that you did in Little Italy that has to do with busking, and and tell us about that. Tell us about that story because that came up when I said, "Have you ever done any busking?" And you said, "Yeah, I have." And here's the story behind it. So tell us about that Little Italy gig
Yeah,
and how busking came into that.
right. So this was last year or 2 years ago. I forget when it was, if it was 2 years ago. We got this gig and it was a free gig on College Street, right? In Toronto. And it was during the Taste of Italy or little whatever it was. I forget what event it was, but I think it was the Taste of Italy. So it was a lot of people on the street, everybody on the street passing by, right? And we were playing at the Axis Club, and it was us and it was a group of artists. There's like I think we were one of five artists that were supposed to be playing, and I think we were closing the show. And it was a free event, supposed to be like, come in, just listen to live music and help support and whatever it was. But the problem was the organizers failed to put a sign out to show that people, we were playing there. So it just looked like the venue and everybody just walked right past the venue. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody cared what was going on. So me and my friends, me and my bandmates were like, no, we can't have this. We can't have it where nobody knows what's going on right now. So we went outside, and this is my busking experience. We took a megaphone. I went out with the violin, and literally I had my buddies holding the megaphone to my violin, and I was playing, playing, playing. If you want to see us live for a free show, come into the show, come into Access. And so we were busking for people out in the venue. And it worked. It actually worked. And it ended up being something where we thought originally we were gonna play for zero people, like maybe like three people, my parents and maybe my guitarist mom. You know what I mean? But instead, we ended up getting like, roughly like 100 people into that venue that just were off the streets. So people came up to me afterward, were like, thank you for like letting us know that this was here. This is great. This is fun. I was like, that's great.
Well, when you were
So,
on the street
uh,
playing, did they at least try to give you some money? Like when you're on the street playing, where's your tip jar? Where we got to put.
honestly, there were, I will say there was more heckling than there was money offers. That's the life of busking though. It was fun. Actually, a lot of the people it was a good time because we didn't take it so seriously, right? We
Yeah.
took it as like it was ridiculous. We're on the street, like just like guerrilla marketing a show that's happening behind me, right? So it was very fun. It was actually a great time. I think I have some video footage of it somewhere. Um, but yeah, it ended up working and it was super, super good time. Oh, and that's the thing. It worked so well that the next day I ordered on Amazon my own megaphone. So if I ever needed to do it again,
You've got
I
something.
have the necessary. Yes, I have the materials.
When I've asked other artists about their genre, and there's so many overlaps now. Years ago, if you went back 20, 30, 40 years, if you were a soul artist, everybody knew what you did. If you were a rock artist, everybody knew what you did. Now there's a lot of crossover in the genre, or we'll call it, fusion of
Hmm.
genres. And some artists have suggested that it's it's great for the creativity. However, sometimes it's harder to get gigs because promoters don't know where to put you. If you were to apply and say to a folk festival, is your music going to fit into a folk festival? He said, well, I can write, I've got songs that would fit in there, but because of where you're putting yourself, it might be a little difficult to get a gig. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I have experience with that exact thing, right? I've reached out to a few publicists and different, management, whatever it is, and they go, listen, this stuff is great. It's really cool. It's really fresh. It's really new, but it's also too new to the point that I don't know what to do with it, right?
Right?
Because they have their, again, like you're saying, they have their rocks connections, they have their pop connections, they have whatever connections they have, and it's easier to just go with, okay, you sound like everybody else in the rock genre. Okay, I know what to do with you. When you don't sound like everybody else, see, that's kind of the thing is like there's almost a little bit of hope in that because in the sense of you're not sounding like anybody else, the only place they can get what you do is from you.
Hmm.
That's a big deal. Like realistically, Michael Jackson, nobody really sounds like Michael Jackson
Right.
and the
Right.
way he used to do things, right? So it's like if you had that itch to be like, "Ooh, I want to listen to that sound of Michael Jackson," you can't get it anywhere but Michael Jackson. All right. So there's a big strength to the idea of being unique to the point that you're offering something, individual, like of your own self that's unique to you. But yes, it's definitely harder to place. The road is a lot harder. The road is definitely a lot more bumpy to get there, right?
Well, let's get into one of the songs that Daniel wrote. So let's take a listen to singer-songwriter Daniel Monte and his song Time from Now, Part 1.
Time is a ghastly joke gifted from the divine. The end is near, but the path is burdened with a blind eye. Time never seems enough. Forest gluttonous bees, the claim we need. Collections of days and months. What is the matter? The stature of all things desired, remembered but never lost. What is our goal? You collect all the royalties, the savings, the numbers. A game built of sustenance, not substance. We live for more days, but the days are gained at a cost. Time is a wretched game that we all have to play. Move as you like, but only time has a foresight. Can we escape this ignorant bliss after all? Can we slow down or pulse at will? Will you tell me how to forget all I know? Will you tell me how to forget how to count so I can play in the snow the way I used to once before, long before, long before. What is the matter? The stature of all things desired, remembered but never lost. What is our goal? You collect all the royalties.
That was Time from the album Now, Part 1. Daniel, tell us what that song is about. When we talked about your favorite song, you referenced Pink Floyd's song Time from their album. What was this song about, and what was the inspiration to write it?
So, I mean, like realistically, the reason I wanted to share this specific song is this kind of is a cumulative idea of what the whole album Now Part One is about, right? And it is the idea that, you know, there's one thing that connects everybody, and it is the idea of time, right? And the fact that it's always moving, it's moving forward, right? And we can't stop it. There's nothing we could do to stop it. There's some people that go along with the flow, and then some people that are trying to resist the flow. I wanted to put this together as like almost like to show the inevitability of time. Now, Pink Floyd, yeah, Pink Floyd also has a song called Time, and they use clocks in it, right? So there's a lot of you can hear the similarities, inspiration between the two songs, right? But also the fact that it's a concept that stays with us throughout millennia, right? When Pink Floyd talked about it, then I'm still talking about the same thing. And before Pink Floyd, you can go back to the earliest moment of just a sundial, you know what I mean, and seeing the sun and moving the shadow as it moves with the shadow moves, and it's like that they're already thinking about time and the progress of time at that point, right? So it's something that's always going to be in the mind. And so this song here, I wanted to show the inevitability and the fact that sometimes you just want to have a break. You just want to think back to that your childhood innocence where you didn't really fully fathom the idea of time. It seemed endless, and you were able to just exist and just enjoy life and just play. And one of the examples I use is just playing in the snow, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's basically what the song is about, and it's structured in that way to show that time is pulsing and you can't stop it, and then right back into those clocks, the pulsing inevitability of time, reminding you that although you had that break, you still can't stop time.
So if there's a Time Now Part 1, I guess there'll be a Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and it'll go on. It could go on.
So
It
there
go on to
is
the end of time.
Right, exactly. Well, the idea, and it's funny actually that you mentioned that because the idea of the album be called Now Part One, right? That now is to remind us because despite going through all this, because again, listening to the whole album from beginning to end, you kind of hear a sense of I don't want to say dread, but there's a lot of study of ethics of what's good, what's bad, what are we on this earth for? Um, it's a lot of study of, time and the inevitability of time and death and what does it mean to die and save me from thinking about that idea.
Mhm.
And then it ends with this idea of there's more insight. Whatever happened in the past, there's always the future. And all these things cumulatively, as you listen to it all, it kind of what I was, and I realized this like retrospectively looking back at the album once it's complete. Because again, I just write, you know, naturally. I just write whatever I think, and then I usually look back on it and go, "Oh, that's what I was thinking." Right? Yeah, it just that's kind of how it happens. It's kind of a therapeutic thing for me, really. And I realized that the album itself is just teaching me and teaching everybody else to just live in the moment.
How do people find out more about you and your music? What's the website? What are the socials that they should be following?
Yeah, so let's start with the socials. On Instagram, at Daniel Monte Music. So Daniel, Monte Music. On Facebook, at Daniel Monte Music. YouTube, it's youtube.com/Daniel Monte. And then my website is www.danielmontemusic.com, where you can also subscribe to a mailing list that we have. And I like to send little updates on, future releases, little sneak peeks and, handwritten lyrics and stuff like that that I like to do on the email list rather than the socials all the time.
We have been in conversation with Daniel Monte. Daniel, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.